Serum 2. It feels good to finally say it. I have been part of the secret beta team for the past 6 months, and back then, there was only like 30 or 35 of us there, and it was really hard to keep this a secret. Serum 2 is an amazing synthesizer. Steve Duda took everything that we loved about Serum 1 and added it to Serum 2 and a whole lot more. So in today's video, we're gonna hopefully go over some of the new features and answer some of your guys' questions and have some fun here. So let's go ahead and get straight into it, all right? So here we have Serum 2. Now, first question answered, how much does Serum 2 cost? Well, it is a free upgrade from Serum 1. So if you have a copy or a license to Serum 1, head over to xferrecords.com and you can upgrade your copy to Serum 2. All right, so that out the way, Serum 2, as you can see, visually is a huge step up from Serum 1. We now have 3 main oscillators here in the middle. Before we had 2. We now have 2 filters. Before we had 1. You have tons of LFOs, tons of envelopes. We have 8 macros now. Before we had 4. We have mix mode, clip mode, art mode, the whole thing. There's so much new stuff here. It's going to take us years to uncover what the synth is actually capable of. Which brings me to my next question. Is Serum 2 better than, say, Vital or Pigments? And unfortunately, the answer is yes. It is a really stacked synthesizer. And Steve Duda built this as a future built synthesizer, meaning that, some of the features here are really taxing on the CPU, like the granular mode, the warp modes. Like I have a pretty modest CPU, like a 5900X, and my CPU sometimes just maxes out. Like it's really crazy. So, if you have something like an M3 or an M4, you're gonna be fine. If you have something like a 9800 or 9900X, like you're gonna be fine. But those of us who have like sort of mid to low tier CPUs, it's gonna take a couple years for us to catch up to what this synth is actually capable of. So that out the way, is it better than, say, Vital or Pigments? Again, your mileage may vary. So let's go ahead and make something here. I'm gonna add some attack here to my patch. Go ahead and add some decay, lower it on the sustain, up the release here. We'll turn on filter 1 and we'll just hear what the default sawtooth sounds like. Now, what I've always loved about Serum is the quality speaks for itself. There's a reason why I always reach for Serum 1 and say the Ascendant stuff, the Signs of Life stuff, is because it just really sounds good, right? It has a great sound to it. It's got a digital hard edge, but you can make it sound really soft. But now with Serum 2, we have so many different options here in the synthesis types. For example, we can turn on oscillator B here and look at the different synthesis modes. We have wavetable, which we had before. We have multi-sample, which is new. We have sample mode. We have granular mode, and we have spectral mode, right? So this is right out the way. Like, you have so many different options here as far as sound design goes. So let's switch it to granular mode, which is really cool. I have some samples here that I've recorded from an upcoming project. And I'll go ahead and drag one of those samples right onto the oscillator and drop it in. And you can hear now that we have a full-on granular oscillator inside of Serum. Really, really crazy, right? We got scan controls here. Change it from one shot to forward reverse loop. And now we're looping. Up the density. Oh yeah. Very nice, very nice. Just like in Pigments, you have all these random controls down here, random offset, random direction. That's really cool. Random length. Really nice to see that. Now, on Serum 1, we had these warp modes. You can see them over here. We have warp mode, we have like FM, AM, RM, phase distortion, all this kind of stuff. But check it out. We have warp modes on the actual granular oscillator itself. That's insane. How many synthesizers do you know that have warp modes on the granular oscillator? I'll wait for your answer. Not many, all right? So we can hit the warp button here. We can add some FM from oscillator A to our granular sample. Listen to this. That's insane. I love it. And of course, we can modulate that. You remember from Serum 1 and the global tab, we had these chaos modulators that were hidden over here, but now those are tucked away in the LFOs. So you can see we have under the LFO, we have normal mode, path mode, chaos Lorenz, chaos Rossler. So we'll use chaos Lorenz and we'll switch it from BPM to Hertz. We'll lower down the Hertz and we'll take that and drag it over to the FM. We can hold Alt and Shift. And now we have a bipolar LFO here. That's a trick from Serum 1. Oh yeah. Really, really nice stuff. So now we're randomly modulating the FM inside of that granular oscillator. I can't even contemplate what I'm saying here because it's just so crazy, right? The options are so immense. It's really kind of nuts. Now, like I said, your CPU mileage may vary here. So over in the global tab, you can switch the quality from high to good. There's even ultra quality, which I didn't even touch because, again, I'm not gonna be able to use half of this stuff because, you know, the CPU requirements are pretty high up there. But on the granular mode, as long as you keep the density down, you know, you're gonna be okay. I think that's the main thing. If I start upping the density or even adding unison to a granular mode, like how many synthesizers do you know that have unison on a granular oscillator? That's insane. But once I start doing that, you can see my CPU just goes through the roof. Yeah, forget about it. Maybe in a couple years I'll be able to do that. But again, this is a future build synthesizer. All right, cool. So now we've got this going on. That's great. Love that. Let's add a sub oscillator here. Well, I'd say a triangle sub oscillator, lower down the level here. Oh yeah. Now, like I said, Serum 2 has 2 different filters. Now, what's really cool is he put some nice visual indication here about how to use the filters. So you can see that we have A, B, and C. You can add A, B, and C. And right away, that changes this little F1 button over here. So we have filter controls, you have mix controls, just like you do on the Hydra synth. We have bus and routing over here, which we're gonna talk about in just a second. But if I add filter 2 here and I say, all right, let's turn on filter 2 and we'll add oscillator B there, you can see that now filter 1 and filter 2 have a balance control. So we can switch it over from filter 1 to filter 2. We have different filter types over here. We'll change filter 2 to like one of the new filters. Let's go with like comb 2. How about that? We'll up the resonance here. This is gonna get really crazy. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, let's add that chaos modulator to the cutoff over here. I love it. Oh my God. Absolutely insane. I love it, I love it, I love it. All right, anyway, so we have level control over here, which we didn't have before, which is really nice. Let's talk about the effects now. So in the effects tab, before we had, you know, just one different effects type, and you can only add like one reverb, one delay. Now you can add multiple different effects types. And not only that, you have busing and routing. What does this even mean? Well, in Ableton or any other DAW, you can see right above my head here, I have my send and return effects. So we have send effects up here. You have the same thing inside of Serum, which really does help on the CPU level. So for example, on bus 1, I can add, say, a delay here. We'll add delay. We'll switch to ping pong mode. We'll go up to dotted. We'll add a dotted 8th note delay here, which I usually use. We'll go dotted 8th note, up the feedback, and we'll change the mix to 100%, right? And what this means is now we have a delay that we can route the different oscillators to, just like you would in a DAW. So let's go ahead and add a reverb here. We'll add a reverb. We'll go with the new bass in mode. We'll up the size here and up the mix to 100%. Now you can hear that we don't hear anything. Well, why? Because I haven't added any of the mix to the bus. So what we can do is we can say, all right, let's add some of this to bus 1. Add some of this to bus 1. And now you can hear that we're starting to get some of that effects. Oh yeah, in our patch, right? So it's an internal busing and routing system that is now included just by default or by using it. It's really crazy. So on the main effects, we can add, say, you even have effects presets in here. So look at, there's a whole factory of effects preset, bass processing, bus processing, really crazy to see. We can add a compressor here. So add a multi-band compressor right on the main. Oh yeah, up the attack, up the release. Load on the mix a little bit. That's crazy, love that. Let's explore one of the new oscillator types as well. We'll add a spectral oscillator here, and we can click the oscillator factory, and we'll go factory, say, I don't know, spatial. That sounds interesting. Ambience 130 galactic loop. I don't know. Let's go ahead and try it. I'm all about it. Oh yeah. I love it. I love it. I love it. Oh my God. Wow. That's insane. Oh my goodness. We'll go from one shot to, I don't know, reverse loop. Add one of those warp modes. We'll go FM from B. Oh my God. And then you have 2 warp modes now. So we can do like, say, a spectral distortion here. Oh my God, with spread? You're kidding me. I mean, this is insane. This is absolutely insane. So like you have like spectral distortion on a spectral oscillator coming from another, it's just, I don't know. I mean, it's wild. So we got shepherd tone, phase shift, phase twist. What's that? Oh my God. Wow. Whoa. Oh yeah, the mirror mode. Oh my God. Let's use that same LFO on this. Let's go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and alt click here, alt shift click again. Oh, that's wild. Wow. That's insane. We're reaching higher levels here. Oh my goodness. Let's add one of these new, let's add a hyper dimension here. And then a nice reverb to finish it off. Drone zone. That is just wild, dude. So I think that's one of the main things is that you're gonna see so many different examples of this synthesizer out there in the wild, and people are gonna be doing some crazy stuff with it. But again, like, how deep does your imagination go? How many different sound sources can you put together? How many different routings can you configure? The possibilities here are absolutely endless. So it's up to you and your imagination to figure out what this synthesizer is capable of. We've just scratched the surface. Like I said, there's clip mode down here, which you can add your own clips to. There's art mode down here with a full-on arpeggiator. Like, it's nuts. So, like I said, I think it's gonna take years for producers to uncover what this synth is actually all about. I'm excited. The future now is wide open, and I encourage you guys to get out there, explore this synthesizer, find out what it's all about. I'll leave a link down below in the description. If it's for Serum 1, you can auto-update on the Expert Records website. I wanna personally thank Steve Duda for making this synthesizer. I know that I'm gonna be using it for years to come. I'm gonna be making tons of presets with it. I mean, every single album, every single production, this is it, a synth for the people. I'm calling it right now. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I truly appreciate it. If you want more videos like this, I am on Patreon. I do deep dives. I'm gonna be putting a lot of Serum presets on my Patreon, so check it out. I'll leave the link down below in the description as well. In the meantime, take good care, you guys. And as always, keep your heads in the clouds and your feet planted firmly on the ground. My name is Chris from Signs of Life, and I'll see you guys in the next video.